Good evening. I'm Mehdi Hassan. The former president of the United States today threatened America's Jews. Not a statement I thought I'd ever be saying, yet here we are. We are 23 days before Election Day in the 2022 midterms, and Donald J. Trump released this statement on his social media platform that reads, in part, quote, U.S. Jews have to get their act together and appreciate what they have in Israel before it's too late. Before what is too late? Too late how? Well, the tendency might be to dismiss his words as, oh, that's just Donald Trump being Donald Trump. That exact instinct is what I want to start with tonight, what I want to challenge tonight. Because what he is saying is not normal, is not okay. We should not shrug at this. We should not become numb to this. It is precisely because we have become numb to Donald Trump and his allies that they keep escalating their rhetoric, including anti-Semitic rhetoric, and the rest of us keep normalizing it, when we should have been demanding consequences for that kind of hate speech long ago. And to be clear, Trump didn't become an anti-Semite overnight. I mean, remember the time in 2018 when the then president told Jewish Americans gathered at the White House to celebrate Hanukkah that Israel was their country and the United States was this country? Take a listen.
I want to thank Vice President Mike Pence, a tremendous supporter of yours, and Karen, and they go there and they love your country. They love your country, and they love this country. That's a good combination, right?
On the remote chance that Donald Trump is watching tonight, Jewish Americans are Americans. They are U.S. citizens. Israelis are from Israel. Do I need to demonstrate by drawing it in Sharpie on a map? Then there's the next year, 2019, when Trump insulted Jewish Americans as ignorant and disloyal. Yeah, his words. Have a listen.
I think any Jewish people that vote for a Democrat, I think it shows either a total lack of knowledge or great disloyalty. All right? No, not all right. And how about last year when Trump said that Israel owns the United States Congress, literally one of the oldest anti-Semitic tropes out there? No, really, he said those words. Have a listen.
The biggest change I've seen in Congress is Israel literally owned Congress. You understand that 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it was so powerful. It was so powerful. And today it's almost the opposite. You have between AOC and Omar and these people that hate Israel. They hate it with a passion. They're controlling Congress, and Israel is not a force in Congress anymore. It's just amazing. I've never seen such a change. And we're not talking about over a very long period of time. But I think you know exactly what I'm saying. They had such power. Israel had such power, and rightfully, over Congress, and now it doesn't. It's incredible, actually.
What's actually incredible is that he has been able to get away with this anti-Jewish rhetoric, hate speech, conspiracism for so long. The former president, the de facto current leader of the GOP. And don't even get me started on that time he praised white nationalists at Charlottesville shouting, Jews will not replace us, as very fine people. Or the time Trump was quoted as saying, according to one of his casino bosses, that he only wanted short guys in yarmulkes counting his money. And here's what's so important. Trump's anti-Semitism is so dangerous right now. Because, don't forget, it was 4 years ago this month, October 2018, in the run-up to the last midterm elections, that Republicans were pushing the unfounded conspiracy theory that Jewish billionaire philanthropist George Soros was funding a caravan of Central American migrants headed for the US border. And on October 27th of that year, 11 Jewish worshippers, including a 97-year-old woman, were gunned down at the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh by an alleged shooter who is reported to have echoed those Soros-based anti-Semitic Great Replacement conspiracy theories. Even after that horrific mass murder of Jews, Trump continued to fuel that unfounded conspiracy. When asked if Holocaust survivor George Soros could be funding the caravan, Trump said, and I quote, "I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised," he said. So yeah, none of this is new, but that's part of the problem.
We have been tolerating a Trump in the White House, a Trump on the campaign trail, a Trump out on the golf course, whipping up hatred and stoking anti-Semitism for 7 long years now. And it just gets worse and worse. As a Muslim, I've become used to Islamophobia on the right. Sadly, I've become used to the mainstreaming of anti-Muslim hate. But anti-Semitism, thankfully, had always seemed off limits. Like a third rail, it seemed untouchable, at least publicly. As Jonathan Chait wrote in New York Magazine, for 3/4 of a century, anti-Semites were locked out of major American politics, or at least had to keep their bigotry quiet. Now the door is open. So wide open, in fact, that Trump has been joined by an army of mini-Trumps, all pushing the same anti-Jewish nonsense. Only 4 years after the Tree of Life shooting, the Republican nominee for governor in Pennsylvania, Doug Mastriano, has used this midterm election campaign, his own gubernatorial campaign, to repeatedly attack his Democratic opponent, Josh Shapiro, for sending his kids to an elite Jewish day school. Just last week, Marjorie Taylor Greene and her Jewish space lasers fueled yet another conspiracy that Soros and the late pedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein were somehow financially linked. Why and how? Something to do with banks, of course. Meanwhile, Greene's fellow GOP member of Congress, Paul Gosar of Arizona, has been openly attending and speaking at white nationalist conferences, including one organized by an accused Holocaust denier. There's also Trump supporter Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, who went from threatening Jews on Twitter last week to once again this weekend making even more hateful, conspiratorial, anti-Semitic remarks in his media appearances. So now is not the time to stay silent or to give the GOP a pass on this issue. President Joe Biden recently called out Trump's MAGA philosophy as a kind of semi-fascism, he said. For me, using that semi is a little too generous. And look, people can argue over the exact definition of fascism. But the one thing that fascist movements across the West have always had in common is this: they go after Jewish minorities in their midst. That is the most common factor. So understand what is going on here. These are not isolated or unconnected acts of anti-Semitic hate. When you see Donald Trump, or Marjorie Taylor Greene, or Paul Gosar, or Doug Mastriano all dabbling in ancient anti-Jewish conspiracies and tropes, it's all part of the same thing: the rising and dangerous fascism on the American right.